And welcome to another episode of Ask An Illustrator. Today I'm very excited because we have children's illustrator Nicole Salinger. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so nice to be here.
Oh, I'm so excited. We have had so many kids send in questions for you, asking about, how you became an illustrator and the different types of illustrations that you do. So are you ready? Are you brave enough to answer some questions from kids?
Very brave. I'm brave and I'm ready.
Yes. Well, this is my book that I write down all of the questions for kids in it. And the kids just went nuts. There's so many things that they want to know. So, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Janie wants to know, what do you like to draw with?
Okay, so I work with pen and ink. So basically, how I start is I work with Copic markers. And they're very special markers. You can get them at Officeworks. And they have two sides. So one side is like a line, and the other side is thick. And it's almost like if you were going to take paint and do watercoloring, that's the effect that a Copic marker can give you. And basically how I start is I take just like a normal A4 piece of paper, Xerox paper, and then I take a pen, usually a very like pointy pen, and I start drawing my image. And then what I do is I photocopy it so that the original ink I use sometimes can seep into the original piece of paper.
Yeah.
And then it's hard to color over it because it tends to bleed and do all sorts of funny things. So what I do is I draw the picture first and then I photocopy it. And then I color my image.
Wow.
And that's how I start my process.
That's amazing. I can't even draw stick figures, so I just think that illustrators are like these superstars. So I am listening and learning today as well.
No problem. So basically, that's how I begin the image. And then we want to play with it so that you can put it on computer, and you have to clean up the image. So what I do then is I photograph the image once I've colored it in. I upload it to my Mac computer. And then I use the tools on my computer to take out the background, to clean up the image around the lines, to have an outline, to make sure no color bleeds over it. And bleeding meaning that like the color doesn't seep out of the image. And you can cut that with digital tools. I do it on my Mac computer on the tools, and then I insert it into my programs to create images and pages and interesting graphics.
That is so cool. Oliver wants to know, what was the hardest thing that you've ever had to draw?
I think the hardest thing I ever had to draw was the likeness of someone for their celebration.
Oh.
It was a few years ago. It was my first time. And it was a family member who gave me a photo of the child and said, can you please do a likeness? It's going to be her sign as you walk in the door. And I had never done something like that. I had never done any kind of like portrait imagery, where the likeness has to be like a true likeness of the person. So it was really challenging, and there were a lot of back and forth and changes for that. And then as I continued doing that kind of work, I kind of learned how to work my own style into creating the likeness of someone. But it took a few years, and it was a lot of practice.
Yeah.
And now I've kind of got that down pat.
So good. And do you think that now that you've found your own style that it's a little bit easier?
Definitely, because what I do is I don't try to be like anyone else. And I think that's when you're an illustrator, you can't be like anyone else. You just have to be yourself. And that takes years of practice to kind of get confident enough to do your own style. And now I'm at the point where like if someone says, can you do a likeness of someone? I always say, well, it's going to be in my style. Is that okay? And they usually say yes. And it actually works out fine because you just look at the size of a lip or the shape of an eye or the shape of a face, and you just work it in. And they're quite happy because it's original work.
Yeah.
And that's the idea when you're an illustrator, is you're always striving to be original and you. and
Yes.
very much you, not anyone else but you.
Yeah, I love that advice. Find your own style and don't try and
Your own
copy anyone.
style. Yeah, don't try to copy anyone else. Yeah.
But Lucas does want to know, do you have a favorite illustration or illustrator that you really love?
I do. Well, she was the original Disney illustrator. Her name was Mary Blair, and she was Disney's background illustrator. She did all like the paintings and backgrounds for Peter Pan and Cinderella and movies like that. And then she did a lot of golden books as well. They used her illustrations. If you look up Mary Blair,
I will.
you'll see she did all the characters for It's a Small World, the
Oh,
ride to
yes.
Disneyland. Yeah, so she was really influential in like the 50s and 60s. And she was one of the first women illustrators working for Disney at the time.
Wow.
And she used to travel and, you know, actually do a lot of like nature driven imagery, and I'm kind of influenced by her because I like a lot of like naturey images, and I like to create characters who live in those worlds. So kind of like Neverland, Peter Pan, that's kind of my style.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Wonderment of nature. Yeah.
Thank you so much for letting us know about that, because when I
Mm.
think about it, that's a lot of the imagery from my childhood. Like, she probably created a lot of the memories that
Yeah.
I have from growing up.
Yes, yes. She was the one. She was, and you know, at the time, I mean, for a woman to be under Walt Disney's wing, and he, you know, above all men at the time, it was pretty revolutionary and progressive at the time for her as well. But she was immensely talented, and she really observed the world around her and nature around her. So she's a really great influence of mine.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I am definitely going to look her up. Janelle wants to know, do you need a real model of what you're drawing?
I think so. I think that if someone's asking you to draw something, I think it's really important for you to go on the web. I mean, nowadays, you know, we don't have to think, we can think out of our heads, but also just to get an image, an initial image of a particular thing. It's really important to go on Pinterest. Pinterest has images, and on the internet, it's really important to have that base of what you're about to draw. And then once you have the shape and once you know where things go, then you can play around a bit and add your own style into it.
Yeah. And Ava wants to know, do you have a favorite place that you go and draw?
Yes, I have a corner downstairs. It's my little nook. In fact, I have a few nooks around my house that I've created to do drawing. I have a downstairs area, which is really like tropical and has really cool kind of trees and wonky trees and things like that. So I created that little nook inside my house because I'm influenced by nature. And then I have a second nook upstairs, which I've designed into like a bit of a wintry kind of area where I have like deer and owls and sort of like an Arctic feel. And so I get inspired by all that kind of thing and by things I see outside my window. Because it never moves. I mean, that's the magic of nature. It really never changes and moves. It's always there. So it infiltrates my imagination. But those are where I work. Those are the areas. Yeah.
That's so cool. I think that's the wonderful thing about nature, because it can inspire all of those different creative parts of you, because you could look at the same thing as me and you might draw something beautiful and I might write a story, or somebody else might write a poem or create a movie. So yeah, people can look at the same thing and be inspired to do different things.
Yes, yes, especially now where, you know, we're in isolation and we're in quarantine, and the only thing when we walk around and go for walks, the only thing that remains standing is nature. That's a really interesting, through the ages, through imagery and children's books, it's always been there. And I think it always will be.
Love that. Absolutely. Max wants to know, do you think in words or pictures?
Both, because I'm a writer and an illustrator. But I think initially it's the vision that comes to me, definitely. Yeah, I would say the imagery comes to me first. I think in imagery, I think in visions.
Cool. And Harper wants to know, what did you want to be when you grew up?
Well, I really wanted to, what did I want to do when I was really young? I think it was, by the time I was 10 years old, I wanted to sing and dance on stage, which I actually ended up doing before yeah, I ended up doing that. And I
Tell
actually,
us more about that, because like
yeah,
that was me at that age.
yeah. So by the time I was 10, I was singing a lot to musicals and things like that. And I ended up getting going to the Boston Conservatory of Music. Yeah, when I was 19. And
Gosh,
I
that's so exciting.
trained and learned about characters there. I learned about character, how to act as a character, and from that, I mean that really helped, you know, my illustrating down the line. But I was kind of toying between illustrating and acting and singing when I was around 10 years old, because I could do both. And I decided to go and go into the theater and do all of that, which I did. And then I ended up working for the Walt Disney Companies anyway as a singer, and singing as like the Little Mermaid, and doing all of that for a few years.
Oh my gosh, you are like my biggest role model right now.
So before I had kids, that's what I did. And I think that, you know, a lot of my drawings now come from, you know, princesses, and I love all the Disney films. And so I'm really inspired by all of that kind of magic as well. But I kind of, I'm at the stage where I want to create my own characters, my own storytelling characters, maybe like from a nature point of view, as opposed to living in a castle.
Yeah.
Something a little bit more earthy is where I'm at, you know,
Wow.
to create.
You're
Yeah,
amazing.
stories.
You're like one of those unicorn people who I just look up to, who do all of these amazing things that I just love.
It was a
So,
lot of, yeah, it was fun. It was great.
yeah. So what do you think is the most important part about what you do?
I think that it keeps you going when the world seems questionable. I think creativity is the thing that will keep you uplifted, and no matter what you find to do, whether it's drawing, whether it's painting, whether it's singing, whether it's, you know, constructing a building or a play building or Lego or anything. I think that, you know, creativity gives you happiness and, you know, personal joy. And I think that is the thing that you have to keep on turning to when you feel a bit bored or down, or, you know, if you can't see your friends during this time. I think it's really, really important to have a hobby and a creative passion to take you through those moments where you're feeling a bit down.
Totally agree. Totally agree. So if you could change one thing about the world, what would it be?
Gee, I would love to take a wand, a sparkly wand, and just sparkle up the world and just fly around and take my sparkle and go whoosh, whoosh everywhere when it needed healing and sparkle and happiness. I just wish there was like a magic wand that I could just fly around, because I dream of flying all the time. I dream I can fly like Peter Pan.
Yes.
I'm always dreaming that I could fly, and I wish I could really just take this imaginary wand and fly on some magic carpet and just sprinkle sparkle all over the world where it needs to be uplifted.
Oh my gosh, we are such kindred spirits. I wish we could both up, because we would totally be best friends. And what advice would you give to kids who are thinking that they might like to be an artist or an illustrator when they grow up?
Well, what I would do if I was them, if I had to do it over again, I mean, this is what I tell my daughter, and this is what I tell lots of kids, is that you really need to start now by, you know, doing all the hard work and creating pieces of paintings or illustrations or anything you have. Start photographing them, start uploading them to your computer. I know you guys can, because you guys are really clever with all that kind of thing, and quick. Upload them, color them, make them look as great as possible, and start a folio. Start a collection of your works. You know, create a PDF, create a Word doc, whatever it is. Go on Canva, it's free, and create your folios, and then start using them and building on them year after year of all your work. Because in the end, you'll have, you know, a body of work. If you want to go into like a university program, it's somewhere like RMIT or somewhere else where they have these amazing arts programs, you're ready. So start getting ready now, because it's so competitive as well.
Yeah.
And get advice, you know, say like, do you really like my, you know, go to professionals who are in that field, go to publishers. I mean, for children, it's a little bit different. I would just concentrate on your craft and building up your body of work, because in the end, your preparation will get you somewhere. It'll show that the school or wherever you want to get into that you're serious and that you're organized and that you get things in on time, and that will mean a lot in the long run.
Yes, that is amazing advice. And if we've got some kids who are watching who would like to ask you some more questions, or maybe turn to you for a little bit of advice, is there any way that they can get in contact with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I have a website. It's at www.nicolesalinger.com.au. You can email me on that. You can look through the website. That's all really cool graphics. A lot of my illustrations you can look at. They're all like little cute videos, and flip through the website. And yeah, contact me with any questions. Absolutely. I work with kids all the time and I advise them all the time. You can also look me up on Instagram at Nicole Salinger Illustrator. And I also, you can go also to at Chic Artique Studio as well.
Okay. What I might do is I might pop all of those links in the details there, so that if any of the kids who are watching who really would like to get in contact with you, all of that information will be in the description. So please don't hesitate to contact Nicole. And can I say, it's been an absolute joy talking to you today.
Thank you so much.
Excited. We love so many of the same things, and you've inspired me as well. And I love that Disney sisters. I just think that is so cool, and we can be fairy godmothers together. So,
absolutely. Yeah,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And I wanted just to thank everybody for watching. And if you want to see some more interviews with amazing creative people like Nicole, make sure you hit that subscribe button and join us for another interview on Ask An Illustrator. Bye.
Bye.